Hey Xenogears fans, this character video will be a little different from the norm, as AMac will be adding his thoughts as well.
Sup?
Ricardo Banderas, Rico. An interesting quandary. Not quite a man, not quite a monster. He's the party's first and only demi-human. He's a prisoner who has won his freedom, but refuses to leave the jail. Someone who's perpetually betwixt and between. Not fully committed or fulfilled in one direction or the other. And that's emblematic of his entire theme as a character, from the events that unfold to his entire character design. There's a lot that could have, would have, or should have been.
Speaking of his character design, when you look at him, he just oozes originality from him. I mean, big green monster man with crazy orange hair. I've never seen anything like that. It's so unique, you look like you could put him in a fighting game, where he fights other people. Let's just say on the street, just as an example. The only one thing I really got to question is that he walks around with a bomb around his neck perpetually, which he's not going to be in my party, knowing he could explode and kill everybody at any one time, but I digress.
Well, bomb aside and potential copyright infringement, from his actual in-game plot origin, there's already interference on the life trajectory that should have happened. The game doesn't do an amazing job of explaining Rico's backstory, so for some context, Rico's parents were Anna and Kaiser Sigmund. While in utero, an agent working for Krellian infiltrates Kislev and somehow becomes the primary physician for the queen, Anna. Being the upstanding guy Krellian is, he has the agents perform experiments on the pregnancy. As a result, Rico is born a demi-human who looks much different than his father or Dominia, who are both native to Elru. While the Kaiser was away, a rival political faction somehow separated Anna and Rico from the rest of the royal estate. Convinced the Kaiser that his wife and newborn were dead, simultaneously, a strong anti-demi-human movement was raging in Kislev.
Hey GP, I have a question for you now that you bring it up. Why did they take Rico and his wife from the Kaiser? What was the point of that? Because the Kaiser's still the Kaiser. Was this just like a needless act of cruelty? Is this act supposed to be like stop him from doing anything? Or is it just as useful as Rico is?
The answer to that are in the pages of unfinished lore. But all I can say is that Xenogears is just one tragedy after the next. From here, the game picks up Rico's story pretty well, and it sets it up in a very interesting way. It's like his story is a distorted mirror of Bart's journey. He's the heir to the throne of Kislev. He's been driven out and has not grown up in royalty in any way. He's out to assassinate the current ruler of the land that will pass to him. Unfortunately, that's where the similarities end though, as Rico does not have a cast and crew of loyal and devoted followers, no pirate lair base, no massive religion behind him, no family treasure, and a whole host of other things.
Well GP, I have to stop you there. He most definitely does have a crew. Not the type of people I want to back me up, who can't beat up somebody who's dazed and confused waking up after a horrific event. But hey, they're there for him. All I can say is, he knows how to back up his crew, because he's there to clean up their mess and deliver an ass whooping that you don't even see anywhere else in Xenogears. If he's this tough as a boss, I can't wait to get him in my party. I'm sure he's going to stay that way.
Unfortunately for the player and Rico's story, pretty much everything begins and ends in the Kislev chapter of the game. It reminds me a lot of Maria's story, or more strongly reminds me of Freya's story from Final Fantasy IX. There's a lot of good emotional motivations and plot connections set up with both characters, but everything that's really relevant with that character begins and ends within a few short hours of meeting them. The writers really shortchanged Rico because even in Kislev, the part of the game that belongs to him, he's not really a necessary character. Think about it. Really nothing he specifically does or needs to do drives the plot forward. He's presented as an obstacle and then an ally to Faye, sure. But if you cut Rico out of the story, it doesn't really affect anything very much. To start with, let's examine Rico's role in the sewer investigation. The sewer investigation could have proceeded without him.
Whoa. GP, I have to slow you down there. There's no way you could have had the sewer investigation without Rico. I mean, he goes down there to see who's killing his boys. And when he does, he comes flying out the gate when he teams up with Faye. You mean, you like his gameplay with the no speed, the low life, the lack of any real defense. Just all the kind of qualities that make a strong character that you're going to use over and over in this adventure. And to put this in perspective, when I say lack of speed, at this point in the game, Doc and Faye probably move 2-3 times as many moves as Rico, and speed is the most important stat in the game because it gives you the most options. They also have the most variety of ether attacks at this point. They all have more health than him, and they have greater accuracy and better defense all around. So we can see this guy is firing on all cylinders, just like in his boss fight. Anyways, when you get into a thing, you start fighting some monsters, you get twerked on by some frogs and you watch them die, maybe once, twice, all the time, and you solve the murder mystery by fighting murder backwards. Haha. And you know, Rico puts a lot of work in that fight. He watches Faye and Doc beat the monster. And who else could be there to do that? No one.
And just like with the sewer investigation, there's other things where Rico is unnecessary. If we look at Faye's relationship with Hammer, one of the strongest points for Rico's character in the game, it's actually independent of Rico, so he's actually not needed there. And Rico as the final opponent of the battling tournament, that could have been almost anybody. It wouldn't have changed very much. Even Rico's assassination attempt on the Kaiser doesn't really impact Faye or the overall events of the game.
Whoa, GP. Always skipping over the most key and crucial points of these games. We need to work on this. Everyone knows that at that assassination attempt is where you find the powerful, very necessary, Rico exclusive accessory, the momentum chain, which raises his ether stat. The number one stat you want on a physical attacker. Now I know what you're going to say. He doesn't have any ether attacks, why would I want that thing? But you need to slow down. What you need to do is get into level 62, where he can use that ether attack with his very, very low ether ability, which I think does as much damage as Bart's Heaven Sent, which he starts off with. So again, Rico proving his worth at all stages in the game.
Well, memento chain aside, at the end of the Kislev arc, Rico helps Faye take on Dominia. However, you get the sense that could have just as easily been Doc or Ellie who assist him in taking on the Hecht. Now, compare Rico with someone I just mentioned, Maria. She has a short stint in the game as well, but in the end, her character and her gear are vital to the story in at least 2 ways. As she's the only one with the gear that can defeat Axen, 18, and she's the only one with the gear that can displace the gravity and get the team into Entronac, the Solar's capital. Plus, she's got connections with Shiva and the rest of the Balthazar family. In any case, it's clear that her involvement in the story is in greater span and scope than Rico's.
I mean, that might be true, but come on, think of what Rico adds from a gear gameplay perspective. I mean, on foot, he's clearly not as strong as his boss fight would lead you to believe, but the other part of the big part of the gameplay is in gear. So you would think that, his kind of design would be the tank character. Big, slow, high health, high defense type of character. I mean, he really shouldn't be able to replace him with anyone. I mean, think of a gear that had more health, more damage, and was a little bit fast. Oh.
As AMac just pointed out, the game marginalizes Rico. Not just in gameplay, but also in the writing of his character. And that might have been done to keep everything centrally focused on Faye, at least at the Kislev point of the game. It works well, but for Rico, it results in wholly unrealized potential.
GP, Rico's potential is realized. Or you could say it's unrealized for a good reason. He's a bench warmer. He's a bench warmer in the main story, he's a bench warmer in his own story, and he's a bench warmer in gameplay. The trifecta of someone who does not need to be in the game, but is anyway.
An unfortunate truth in the many tragedies of Xenogears. I mentioned how in ways Rico's story is a lot like Bart's. The obvious major differences being Bart's arc is fully fleshed out and tied into the overall narrative of Xenogears. I do feel that a lot was set up to give Rico that completed arc as well, and I believe the plot that would have given Rico closure was lost to the chair narration scenes that we get in Disc 2. To start, when Bart gets a super-dimensional Yggdrasil 4, the text goes over how the team went to Kislev and converted the city center into part of the weapon. Now, the whole sequence of Faye and the team officially returning to Kislev, especially after being fugitives, with the new king of Eva, and the slightly, well, let's just say highly wanted Rico, there's a lot that could have been written about that. Maybe the Kaiser would not have been cooperative, and had to be convinced or deposed. Maybe Rico convinces the Kislev government to let the people help. Maybe he gets the D-Block people involved. I don't know, maybe he even pilots the gear along with Bart to take out the Solaris mobile supremacy weapon. Who knows? Another key point I think Rico could have been involved in is the M plan, when the people start mutating. We see how Ellie and Nissan become a beacon for the people. Rico could have stepped up in his own way and been a leader, an example for all those newly mutated people, showing them that the life he had to endure with discrimination towards demi-humans and kislev, there's a way to show strength and to lean on yourself in order to get to where you want to go. There's an unfulfilled potential for him to have a very positive impact on the people of Ignis. Unfortunately, it's all just possibility lost to the pages of unfinished lore.
He does have one positive thing that he does give the player. If you're ever curious how it sounded like an old man throwing his back out, just finish one of his death throws.
Well guys, unfortunately, that's it for Rico. He's an interesting character. Well, he's somebody who could have been a much more interesting character, but he turned out how he turned out. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed that. Let me know how you guys like the format with the help of AMac, of course.
Later.
And if you haven't already, feel free to check out the other Xenogears character-related videos. I've done one on Wiseman, Dominion, Margie up to this point, and we've got some more coming. Thanks to everybody who voted in the last poll that went out, and we will see a few more as we go along. See you next time. See ya.